I came home from work exhausted and turned on the light. I screamed in horror. What the hell? The room was in disarray. Bags of snacks were scattered everywhere. In the center of the room were my mother-in-law and her two sisters, who were drooling in their sleep. Oh, you're back. It's quite a nice house. My mother-in-law woke up. Give me a break. What do you think you're doing? I screamed in anguish, and she clapped her hands and smiled at me. We're going to live here from now on. You're going to work hard for us. Then we'll let you stay here. She proclaimed with a breath that reeked of alcohol. Her sisters were smirking with a glass of wine in their hands. It's a little cramped, but we'll manage. It comes with a maid, you know. That's true. By the way, can you make us some snacks? The three of them gulped wine while they cracked up so hard that the entire neighborhood could hear them. I was absolutely stunned when I heard a nonchalant voice coming from the front. Suppressing my anger, I walked toward the door. My husband, who also reeked of alcohol, was taking off his jacket. He had told me he was going to a company function, but it made me angrier in the crazy situation. Honey, your mom is making a terrible joke that she and her sisters are going to live here. Do something. Oh yeah, I think I got a text about that from her. She said they were having a party tonight. Are they still drinking? I was taken aback by his indifferent attitude. Are you serious? What are we going to do about their living expenses and stuff? She said she would pay us rent. You just need to put in a little more effort on housework. Anyway, I'm a little hungry, so can you make me something quickly? He walked into the bedroom to change. I went back to the living room and saw the three of them once again sprawled out on the floor. They had such a dumb sleeping faces. I saw a wine bottle lying on the floor. I couldn't contain my anger and pick it up. I met my husband Peter through work. At the time, I was working in the sales for a food company. He was one of my clients, and we often saw each other. Since we both liked to drink, we hit it off right away. The year after we met, we started going out. We went around places that served good drinks and sometimes made cocktails at home together. Although he was a little insensitive at times, I liked his cheerful and optimistic personality. 2 years later, we got married and bought a house near his mom, Betty. It was spacious for the price, bright, and in a safe neighborhood. We decided on it almost immediately, partly because he was close to his mom. That was the beginning of the mistake. I'm hungry, Dana. Hurry up with the food. Huh? Are you going to stay for dinner again? Watch your tongue. You're so sarcastic. Come on, start cooking. Soon after we moved into our new house, Betty began visiting us almost every day without notice. Because I had changed my work when I got married, I did have more time on my hands than before. I was planning to spend it studying for my certification exam. Betty didn't care about it and kept coming over as she wished. I couldn't neglect my mother-in-law, so I had no choice but to entertain her. In retrospect, no matter how awkward our relationship became, I should have firmly rejected her. Eventually, her sisters Diane and Anita started coming along with her. Oh no, we are out of snacks. You need to stock more. I will open the new tea box. The sisters were both divorced. If they behaved like that all the time, no wonder their husbands ran away. No matter how disagreeable they were still close relatives of Peter. I sucked it up and continued being treated as a maid for his sake. When the stress was getting to the point where I couldn't even manage my daily life, the three sisters went away on a short trip. I thought it was now or never and talked to Peter about them, but he didn't take me seriously at all. My dad just passed away, so she's lonely. Don't be so uptight. But our expenses are going up. If we keep going like this, we'll have to cut into our savings.
You're not good at managing it then. I've gotten a raise and have been putting in more money.
His raise was less than 100. I was too exhausted to argue with him. 3 years had passed. I wondered how long I had to live in hell. I had no idea that I still hadn't seen the core of it. One day, my personal belongings began to disappear. I noticed some accessories, cosmetics, and other small things were missing. I knew that only Betty and her sisters would do such a thing, and started using a lockable drawer. I kept track of everything I didn't want to be taken. Oh my god, why is the lock broken? The things I put inside were gone too. It was absolutely unacceptable behavior, and I questioned them. Of course, all 3 of them pretended to know nothing about it.
Oh no, it must be a thief. That's scary.
I knew it was dangerous to leave the house empty. Why don't we come over more often, Betty?
Indeed.
They spoke among themselves while watching TV and devouring snacks. The snacks and drinks spread out on the table were all prepared by me. I bit my lip and clenched my trembling fist in frustration. One day, when I came home from work, I could hear them laughing so loud, even from the street. I walked into the house, suddenly feeling fatigue in my neck and shoulders. There were boxes piled high in the hallway. What the hell? I walked toward the voices suspiciously and was met with an unbelievable sight. More boxes were placed throughout the living room. Looking inside one of them, they appeared to belong to the 3 sisters. They were drinking wine in the middle of the mess. Noticing my presence, Betty spoke to me in a good mood.
We decided to live here. You're going to work hard for us. Then we'll let you stay in this house.
She declared the unthinkable with a breath that reeked of alcohol. Diane and Anita were smirking with wine glasses in their hands.
It's a little cramped, but we'll manage. It comes with a maid, you know. Can you make us some snacks?
They laughed so loudly that the neighbors might have complained, and then they gulped the wine. I was absolutely stunned when I heard a nonchalant voice coming from the front door. Suppressing my anger, I walked toward it. Peter, who also reeked of alcohol, was taking off his jacket. He had told me he was going to a company function, but it made me angrier in the crazy situation.
Honey, your mom is making a terrible joke that she and her sisters are going to live here. Do something. Oh yeah, I think I got a text about that from her. She said they were having a party tonight. Are they still drinking?
I was taken aback by his indifferent attitude. Are you serious? What are we going to do about their living expenses and stuff?
She said she would pay us rent. You just need to put in a little more effort on the housework. Anyway, I'm a little hungry, so can you make me something quickly?
He walked into the bedroom to change. I went back to the living room in despair and saw the 3 of them once again sprawled out on the floor. As I looked at their dumb, sleeping faces, I felt my blood boiling up. To hell with them. I scurried to call my lawyer friend. I had been talking to her about my situation for a while, so she agreed to come and meet me right away. I left the house with a folder of documents that I had hidden in a secret place. My friend was to meet me at the diner near my house. I ordered pasta and ate it with a feeling of rage. When I finished eating, I received a text from someone. I decided to ask her to come over to my house. Soon after, my friend arrived, and we headed to my house together. When we arrived, Peter and the 3 sisters were all huddled in the middle of the living room for some reason. I asked my friend to wait at the door. I looked down at Peter and the others.
You hit Peter, didn't you?
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb. This is a proof.
Betty helped Peter to get up. His nostrils were stuffed with tissues, and he had a bump on his forehead. He glared at me with a look of sheer pain on his face. Betty pointed a finger at me and shouted, "You did this to him! You better pay him compensation!"
"Damn right! I'm against violence!"
I sighed and slammed the divorce papers from the folder. Then I opened the cupboard and took out the surveillance camera I had hidden. They all looked at me with puzzled expressions. "The truth is on here, so let's all take a look." Since the camera was linked to my phone, I showed it to everyone. I pressed the play button, and the room appeared as it did sometime earlier. We could see Peter coming into the living room in a good mood after changing his clothes. He was walking through the room and seems to be talking to the three sisters, who were already wasted and asleep. The next moment, he trips on a bottle of wine and fell face down. The sound waked them up from their sleep, and they scurried around him. "You know who caused this, don't you?"
"This means nothing. You should have cleaned up the mess properly."
"Even though it was your mess?"
"It's your job to clean up. It's so shady to plant a camera anyway."
She was adamant to make it my fault in any way. I didn't expect logic from her, but I also didn't think she was so obstinate. I tapped the video I had taken a few days earlier and held it up in front of them again. It was footage of the time my lock was broken. There I found the sisters breaking it and stealing my things. They seemed to realize that it was indeed a serious matter, and their faces began to turn pale. The reason I set it up was that I wanted to know who was stealing my things. I guess thieves exist closer than you think, right, Betty?
Well, that's...
Wait a minute. Stealing is indeed a terrible thing to do, but you must have known from the recording that I was injured. You are also a perpetrator for ignoring it.
His absurd argument made me laugh. How did I end up marrying such a man? I would have loved to go back in time and ask myself. I led my friend into the room and presented the divorce papers in front of his face. I was worried when I saw it, so I came home in a hurry. Even though we are getting a divorce, I wouldn't wish you any harm. Unlike your family, I'm not morally corrupt. I then told them that the house was in my name, that my parents had purchased it, and that I had the documents to prove it. I also told them to pay for cleaning the house and the stolen items. Diane and Anita raised their eyebrows and started yelling at Betty.
"This is not what you promised us."
"That's right. You said I would have an easier life here, so I already moved out of my apartment."
"Are you guys saying it's my fault? It was Diane who brought the wine in the first place."
As the three of them argued, Peter came to me begging. He apologized to me with tears streaming down his face. Just as I was about to say it was too late, the doorbell rang. I shouted toward the door to come in, and the woman appeared.
"Aunt Angela!"
"Hi, Peter. You've been gained so much weight. And why are you looking so pitiful?" She took off her sunglasses and flashed her beautiful smile. I felt the mood in the room changed completely. Betty and her sisters uncomfortably huddled around each other. Aunt Angela was my late father-in-law's older sister. She ran a successful business and was quite well off. When my father-in-law's company went bankrupt, not only did she help him pay off his debts, she helped him until his new company took off. Betty was completely indebted to her for that reason. Diane and Anita went to the same high school as her and were intimidated by her. She kept herself away from family gatherings, which made everyone fear and respect her at the same time whenever she made a rare appearance. Peter had also been afraid of her ever since he was spanked when he was a child. Of course, the spanking wasn't for nothing, but for being mischievous. As for me, I met her through work first. She was a tough businesswoman, but she was also very caring and practical, which I respected.
How can you treat a kind and competent girl in this way? You people should be ashamed of yourselves. Well, No excuses. Everybody sit down right there. Angela began to lecture the four of them. They were complaining to me before she showed up, but they became quiet and obedient. Her lecture went on for about an hour. By the time it was over, Peter couldn't say anything. I then had him sign the divorce papers in front of everyone. He also wrote and signed a letter of promise that he would pay me alimony and the savings he and his family spent. The years of hell finally came to an end. Cheers! I gulped down the icy cold beer. It's the taste of victory. It tastes 100 times better than the beer I usually drink. I'm having a party with some girlfriends in a crowded bar. I can't believe Peter is your ex-husband. I was dumbfounded when you told me. Yeah, well, by the way, thank you for your help. Don't mention it. Just tell me everything. After I filed for divorce, I immediately sold the house. When Betty and her sisters lost a place to live, they went to work for Angela in the warehouse. They are assigned to a particularly tough section and are struggling every day. Angela advanced the payment for the cleaning and the stolen items for them. They are forced to work hard until they pay her back. Peter's performance at work dropped dramatically and was demoted. One of my friends I'm having a drink with tonight is his colleague. She's also my classmate from high school. We bumped into each other at the station and talked for the first time in a while. When I told her about the divorce, she spread a rumor about him in the office. As a result, his credibility flew out the window. Even though the work environment was unpleasant for him, he thinks it's still better than working for Angela. He still goes to work every day. Angela has assured me that if he falls behind on the alimony payment, he would be forced to work for her immediately. Seriously, why did I marry that guy? I know. Well, it's a party for broken hearts today. Let's all have a good laugh together. I'm in. Our laughter is mixed into the hustle and bustle of the bar and disappeared into the night.
It's not good to have you around. From now on, you will live alone in this house.
Soon after the baby was born, my husband brought me to a shabby apartment near his parents' house. No, I can't live here by myself. This is crazy. Give my baby back.
Quiet, Kelly. You're disturbing the neighbors.
My mother-in-law, standing by my husband's side, ignored my pleas with a stern expression. And I was at my wits' end, helpless to do anything about it. And to make matters worse, my mother-in-law behaved in the most unthinkable way. She started leaving food scrap in front of that shabby apartment every day. With nowhere to throw it away, the bags of garbage piled up. Then I opened one of them and found something I couldn't believe. I'm Kelly, a 33 years old housewife. My husband Walter and I have been married for 3 years. We were looking forward to the birth of our first child. But the birth of the baby was accompanied by anxiety. The reason was Walter's extravagant spending and temperamental nature, and my relationship with my mother-in-law. My father-in-law has already passed away, and live with my mother-in-law. But my mother-in-law and I don't get along, and she's always sarcastic. What? The way you folded the laundry. It will get weird wrinkles like this. Why can't you even do it properly? Just do it again. But the other day, you told me to fold them like this.
What? You're blaming me?
Then my mother-in-law knocks the laundry I folded onto the floor. She is very thorough and picky in her housework, and she changes what she says almost every time. Then she complains about it as if it's my fault. Kelly, why are you such a bad learner? And when my husband overhears me talking with my mother-in-law, he gets in a bad mood.
What the hell is wrong with you? Put yourself in my shoes. Coming from work and having to listen to this all the time.
He would hit things and yell at me. Walter is cold towards me, but for some reason, he's very obsessed with me. I have a cell phone, but the only contacts I have are with Walter and my in-laws. My internet browsing is constantly monitored. And of course, he's using GPS to track my location. Even before we got married, I knew he was a jealous person. But after we got married, I started to think about divorce because his jealousy just got worse. One day, I went shopping and called the lawyer's office from a payphone. I explained the situation to the lawyer and somehow started to work toward divorce. Fortunately, I had some savings before our marriage, and the lawyer was sympathetic to my situation.
Let's make sure the divorce goes through. As for the remuneration, you can pay me in installments once you have a stable living situation.
The lawyer kindly said to me. I thought that the divorce was proceeding smoothly. Then one day, I noticed that I had not been feeling well for several days. I rushed to the hospital and found out that I was pregnant. I had been taking pills to avoid pregnancy in order to get a divorce, but my husband hid them from me once. I must have gotten pregnant then. I was torn between joy at having a child and anger at him. My parents had already passed away, so I had no home to go back to. In addition, my morning sickness was so severe that I was unable to take any action for divorce. Walter seemed convinced that having a child would keep me from running away. Or maybe he's just really happy to have a child, and he'd softened his attitude.
We'll have to remodel this house. If it's a boy, he should be an athlete. And if it's a girl, we'll have to raise her to be a good wife and a wise mother.
My husband says these things and develops selfish theories about education. I thought to myself, I'll divorce you after the baby is born though. I gave a vague answer and let it slide for a while. My mother-in-law was as mean as ever toward me, but there was a slight change in her attitude.
If something happens to you, the neighbors will misunderstand that I did something to you. So, Kelly, stop worrying and concentrate on the baby. Why did Walter even marry this woman? You know, Kelly, honestly, I want you to leave. But I'll take care of you until the baby is born.
Somehow, I was able to rest because she didn't force me to do the housework like before. My morning sickness was pretty bad.
What the hell, Kelly? What can you eat then?
You're such a pain in the ass. My mother-in-law kept complaining to me, but she did make meals for me. But in the end, I almost became malnourished, and I had to spend some time in the hospital before the baby was born. And I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. I was about to contact a lawyer to get a divorce from Walter when I noticed that my bank book was missing. Moreover, my diary, which I had intended to hand over to the lawyer, was also missing. It has a record of harassment from Walter and my mother-in-law. Walter? I heard Walter's voice behind me.
Is this what you're looking for?
I turned around to see Walter standing there, grinning and holding the diary I had hidden away.
What on earth were you writing in it? Even looking at?
Give it back!
Shut up. What the hell were you doing behind my back, Kelly?
I'm preparing for a divorce. I can't live with people like you any longer. Someone who breaks things and yells and tries to subdue me. Divorce me, please. It wasn't exactly what I had planned, but I made up my mind to ask him for a divorce.
Divorce? Yeah, I can do that. But leave the kid.
With that, Walter took me by the hand and walked up. He drove me to a shabby apartment near my parents-in-law's house.
It's not good to have you alone. From now on, you will live alone in this house. As long as you live here, I'll let you see your kid once a week. But if you leave, you'll never see him again.
No! This is crazy! Give my baby back! Then my mother-in-law came out from behind him and said to me, "Quiet, Kelly! You are disturbing the neighbors!" My mother-in-law is holding my son. I'm looking at my son's face in her arms, and I'm trying to think. I have to get out of this situation somehow. I thought desperately, but no answer came to me. In the meantime, I was stuck in that shabby apartment. Walter had found out while I was in the hospital that I was planning to get a divorce. He had taken my baby hostage. I now had no choice but to live in this shabby apartment. A few days later, things turned an unexpected way. I noticed a strange odor wafting through the air. I looked for the source of the smell and found there was a garbage dumped in front of the apartment. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I soon realized that it was my mother-in-law. I looked up and saw my mother-in-law standing in front of the door with my son in her arms.
Oh, Kelly, you just woke up. Just because we are taking care of your baby doesn't mean you are not a responsible mother. Well, that's alright. Can you leave them at your place until garbage day?
Huh? What on earth does this person want? I tried my best to wrap my head around my mother-in-law's nonsensical behavior. First of all, I have to get the child back and contact a lawyer. That's what I thought. And somehow I managed to find an opportunity to do so. A few days passed in the meantime. Meanwhile, every morning there was a garbage dumped in front of my room. What did I do to deserve this? I was getting angry. As I was about to carry the garbage bag, I noticed that the bag was transparent, whereas it was usually black. And when I looked at the bag, I found an envelope inside. It was labeled "To Kelly." I immediately took out the envelope and looked inside. There were some $100 bills and a letter from my mother-in-law. The letter said something I had never expected.
I am so sorry for everything I have done. I knew my son had issues. I wanted you to escape, so I was hard on you. I'm really sorry that I had no choice but to behave like that, because Walter's surveillance was very too strict. I'm also sorry that I could only give you this much money under Walter's watchful eye. I received a call from your lawyer yesterday. I couldn't tell him the details, but he said he would visit us tomorrow at noon. So please take the baby and run away. Leave the rest to me. I'm so sorry, Kelly. I hope you understand.
The letter from my mother-in-law was written in blurred letters, as if she had written it while crying. I realized for the first time that my mother-in-law was also my husband's victim. I checked the other garbage bags and amazed at the contents. I found envelopes in the other bags as well, containing cash. I realized that my mother-in-law was trying to take care of me all this time. I learned that she was being as kind as she could be in letting me see my baby under Walter's watch. Because of Walter's personality, even if she was his mother, he probably looked down on my mother-in-law because she was a woman. In addition to the cash, the envelope also contained several photographs of my baby. I cried as I felt my mother-in-law's concern for me. I gathered my thoughts for the next day's meeting with the lawyer and went to sleep. The next day, I woke up to the sound of the doorbell. When I answered it, I found my mother-in-law standing there, holding my son in her arms. Walter is going on a business trip today and won't be back for 2 days. This may be your last chance. Kelly, I'm so sorry for everything. My mother-in-law bows repeatedly to me as she holds out my son to me. But what about you? Walter will get furious with you if you are gone. That would be true, but he's my son. It's my responsibility. Besides, I can't even work at my age. I am too stupid to make a living without Walter's help. No, that's just... I decided to invite my mother-in-law in and listen to her carefully. She told me that her husband and Walter had brainwashed her over the years. You can't do anything. As they imprint these words, she spent most of her life only for the two of them. Because of this, she has lived a life without freedom for a long time. She was not even allowed to watch TV when her husband was alive. After he passed away, she realized something was wrong with her life from a TV show she was watching. But she couldn't even get out of it on her own. Then I came along as her daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law was trying to get rid of me by hinting me coldly so that I wouldn't follow in her footsteps. She told me this in tears. Let's run away together so that Walter won't ruin the rest of your life, okay? My mother-in-law responds to my persuasion with confusion. No, there's no way I can do that. I can't do anything. I don't want to cut in your way, Kelly. My mother-in-law was not convinced. Meanwhile, my lawyer arrived. I told him the whole story. The lawyer had a rather grim expression on his face. What do you want to do? Please tell me how you really feel. I'll do my best to support you. After a few moments of silence, my mother-in-law told us what was on her mind. The truth is, I want to get away from Walter. I love him because he's my child. But it's too painful living in constant denial about my life. It's also hard that I won't be able to see my grandson anymore. And with that story, she showed us the bruises on her arms. The bruises were so bad that I was surprised, and I asked my mother-in-law about it. She said that Walter became violent with her when he got angry at the babies crying at night. She said Walter had often been violent to her, even before our marriage. The lawyer's face was clearly filled with anger. You should run away. I'll show him the pain. You too. Run away from this immediately. He began to persuade her to leave, but his effort to persuade her were in vain, and she went straight back to her house. A lawyer and I decided to get ready to run away. I called my cousin's house, told her what had happened, and asked her to move in for a while. My cousin, in tears, accepted. I quickly packed up, took the baby, and headed for my cousin's house. A few days later, I got a call from my lawyer. He asked me if I could be willing to participate in a meeting to discuss my divorce from Walter. During this call, I was told by the lawyer that my mother-in-law would also be attending the meeting. When I visited the lawyer's office, Walter and my mother-in-law were already there. When Walter saw me, he said, I was worried about you. I'll kick her out if it's about my mom. So, the three of us will live together from now on. Okay? I ignored him and sat down. Our lawyer started talking about divorce, alimony, and child support. Meanwhile, Walter was screaming at me to come back. Walter, the lawyer is speaking now. is important. Can't you even listen? When I replied, Walter's face turned red, as if he was about to go berserk. But he seemed to be holding back in front of the lawyer. After the lawyer had explained everything, and the conversation had settled down, my husband opened his mouth.
What's the matter with you? Why can't you understand that I love you so much? Do you really think you can get a divorce or over something like this?
Walter asked me. Huh? Don't make me laugh. I've never felt any love from you. I've cut off all ties with the outside world, and I've endured your abuse day by day. Why are you so selfish? I replied with a laugh, and Walter stood up. The lawyer said quickly,
Walter, please sit down.
My husband sat back down in his chair and opened his mouth to my mother-in-law.
Kelly is leaving because of you. How about you say something? What do you think you were doing? Give him money without consulting me and ruin my child's happiness.
My mother-in-law replies, I'm just trying to save his life and happiness. Saying that, my mother-in-law held out the recorder. It was a recording of Walter's sarcasm and horrible words toward me. My mother-in-law had been preparing for this day since before I was pregnant.
With this much evidence, even if we go to court, the divorce will be final. Do you agree to the divorce here and now? Or do you want a divorce after he goes to court and the company and others find out about it? Which would you prefer?
The lawyer combined all my evidence and confronted Walter about the divorce. Then Walter said as if he had given up the idea.
Okay. I'm divorcing you.
Nodding his head, he agreed to the divorce. I will never see you again. As I said this, my mother-in-law opened her mouth as if to put an end to it. I've been putting up with this for a long time, but I'm glad it's over. Walter, I'm leaving you. I'm going to live on my own. As she said, holding out a piece of paper. Don't get involved with me anymore. Otherwise, I'll take this and file a police report. The paper was a medical certificate for my mother-in-law's injuries inflicted by Walter. And then the lawyer tells him matter-of-factly,
Your mother is fully prepared to file a lawsuit.
Then Walter started to cry.
Mom, why did you betray me too?
At the sound of Walter's grief, my mother-in-law's face contorted for a moment.
Betray you?
Isn't it betrayal to violate a family member?
How can you cry without understanding what you have done?
We have been living in hell for a long time, I said to him too, and stared at my husband. I took my mother-in-law's hand and left the office. After a while, my mother-in-law sold the family house. She moved to the countryside, relying on her relatives. Since her husband had left her a substantial inheritance, she was going to spend the rest of her life in comfort. As for me, after my divorce from Walter was finalized, I found a job far away from here. Now, with the help of others, I'm leading a new life with my son. I almost ruined my life with this marriage. There is no need to get used to the absurdity of suffering. I want my son to be a gentle person with compassion and kindness to those around him.